So my wife and I this weekend went to see Sinners. It's the new Ryan Coogler film with, of course, starring Michael B. Jordan, which seems to be his go-to for a leading man, which I don't mind. I've loved everything that they've made together. Um, I was kind of pushing my wife to see this, knowing that she loved vampire movies in general, and thinking like, well, you know what? If nothing else, she'll dig it for that aspect. Um, But, I was surprised at the end of the movie because usually she complains about movies being too long. And this was, a little long, a little over 2 hours. But, anything over like an hour and 40 minutes, my wife is kind of like, it was a little long. Uh, anyway, I was a little surprised because we walked out of the theater and we're driving home. And she's like, by the way, that movie was a 10 out of 10 for me. I was like, really? I was like, I was surprised. I mean, I agreed. It was phenomenal. Such an awesome movie. Um, but it's hard to impress her. It is, movie wise. Like, it's got to be either really different and unique, or just really, really good. And this was both. Like, what a great kind of new spin or take on vampires. The setting was incredible. Like, have you ever seen a vampire film taking place in the black community in rural Mississippi in the 1930s? I don't think you have. I certainly haven't. Everyone seems to agree this movie is awesome. Rotten Tomatoes, both the audience score and the critic score is in the upper 90s, like 98 and 97%, which is pretty unheard of. Um, yeah, I mean Ryan Coogler can't miss, man. So the movie follows the Stack twins, both brothers played by Michael B. Jordan, which was another kind of unique twist. I wonder if he got paid a little more for playing two characters in the film, being cast as two different characters. But I just loved like every aspect of the setting and the characters in this film. Um, both of the twins, they didn't make them exactly like each other, and I love that. They they had their own personalities, and they were quite different from each other. They had different love interests that they had left behind. But anyway, let me get to the kind of the plot of the story is that the Stack twins, they had left their home in rural Mississippi back in the day with kind of a bad reputation as kind of bad boys, right? Like people not to be trifled with, uh, gangsters. And they leave Mississippi and they go to Chicago and they get deep into the gangster game, right, with the Italians and the Irish mob up in Chicago. We don't know for sure exactly what happened there, but there's a lot of speculation throughout the film from other characters, and they don't deny it. So they come back to their hometown here, and they've got all this money, like a bag full of cash. And so it's like, everyone's wondering where they got this cash, but also knowing that it was probably from nefarious means and they likely robbed the mafia. Um, so they come back and kind of recruit their little cousin, who was very young when they left, who is a prodigy blues guitarist and singer. And there's a lot of cool aspects of music in this film, like where they they relay music to having power, um, power to summon spirits, and the way that they use music in this film is really awesome. Um, I don't want to give away too much because I don't want to give you exactly what happens. I will do some spoilers a little later. So, if you get past this little synopsis here, you might want to turn it off if you haven't already seen the movie. If you haven't seen it, you got to go see it. It's a huge movie. It's doing really well. It finally, finally something topped the Minecraft movie this weekend. And this is a horror film, like horror suspense thriller movies, like they don't usually do crazy numbers, and this is something in the neighborhood of 60 something million opening weekend. which is an awesome opening for an R-rated horror film. And I I I think it's going to keep growing. Like I'm willing to bet the second weekend will be just as good or better, just because of all of the talk around this movie. Um, anyway, back to the story. They come back to their hometown, and their plan with the money that they brought is to open a juke joint. And a juke joint is just like an unsanctioned underground club, right? A place to party, a place to let loose, dance, listen to music, um, get in a little bit of trouble, right? And so they go around recruiting all the people they're going to need for this big opening night shindig. And what I love, another thing I love about this is it all takes place over one day, like one night, and you still get to know these characters so deeply in that amount of time. But they recruit all these people from around town. They got a guy for security to watch the door. They've got someone to make the food. They've got someone to make the signs and everything. And they've got someone to provide the liquor, and they've also brought a bunch of Irish and Italian booze from up north. They are ready for this crazy shindig, and you know, this is like a predominantly black film, and predominantly black characters, and which makes total sense in the 1930s. The segregation that was still going on was very apparent in this movie, and I love the way they handled it. Like, I'm pretty sure I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure it was historically accurate in the way that the races were separated. The Ku Klux Klan was still very much a thing, and one interesting aspect is that the town. Where everyone kind of congregates. This is now they have the juke joint they get is like an old sawmill out in the middle of nowhere. Um, but the town that they live in and that they go to recruit all these people to be in the juke joint for the opening night was segregated in a way that was really visually interesting. Like they had a main stretch, a main street in the town, and one side of the street was all white establishments and white patrons, and the other side of the street was all black establishments and black patrons. So it was just a really cool, one more layer to add to this film. That like I said, it was 2 hours, but only 2 hours to establish all of this, setting all of these characters, the past that these characters have. Which I said I'm not going to give away too much, but I will say that both of the Stack twins have females that they have left behind, women that they had in their lives when they left, and they kind of left them high and dry, and now they're returning, and they have to reckon with that as well. And one of these romantic interests is a white woman, and that also kind of spices up this like racial tension that's going on, because she's kind of the only white woman in this film that's accepted by the black community. Like everyone knows her, everyone loves her, and it's but they have kind of a hostile attitude towards each other. The I don't remember which one of the twins was dating her, but the way they interact with each other is funny at times, and just visceral. Um, and then the other twin has someone that he has left behind that he had a very serious relationship with. And so these are things that they have to reckon with. All of this happens in one day, and it's done so well. It's written so well that you believe that you're just jumping in the middle of this story and getting to know these characters like that. Like you already have known them for a long. It seems like this would have taken like a long 8 to 10 episode series to tell this story, but no, they do it in 2 hours, and that just shows that movies can still do that. Like, not everything needs to be a series. Some things can be put into a movie, and sometimes you can put as much info as you would put in a series into a movie and have it work. It just has to be written correctly. Um, but then, I haven't even gotten to the main plot of the story, which is vampires. right? All of this is established before we even meet these vampires, right? And then so it's established that there are these creatures that have come and they want to change everyone into them, which is another aspect that's a little different, right? Like normally vampires they just need to feed. They need to feed and sometimes they choose someone to turn. But in this film, it's as if they just want to turn everyone and bring them into the fold, like change the world into what they are. Um, it's a really interesting take on the genre. Um, but I don't want to give away too much. I don't. I will say this about it though. There are one thing. My wife said it was a 10 out of 10 when she walked out. Then she changed it to a 9. Okay, and then eventually settled on a 9.5, and I'd probably agree somewhere in the 9.5 range. And it's mainly because of the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene establishes that some of the vampires survived. Um, this crazy night many years into the future, and I that scene works, but I think it was too long. And when you see the movie, or if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I mean. It's a little too drawn out. I feel like if they would have opened the doors and you saw them walk in, that's all you needed. That's all you needed to establish that they were still alive, that they were still alive and kicking. By the way, another actor in this film that is a standout is Hallie Steinfeld, who plays the white woman who is accepted by the black community. She's awesome in this. She is awesome. Um, I enjoy her. I think the first time I actually saw her, I know she's a very big actress now, but the first time I really interacted with her, um, interacted, I say, uh, experienced her acting was in the Hawkeye series on Disney Plus, and I thought she was awesome. I'm like, okay, I'll watch stuff with this chick in it because she's awesome. And I didn't even realize it was her in this film until like halfway through. I'm like, oh, that's Lady Hawkeye. Anyway, she is awesome, and obviously Michael B. Jordan. I've loved him forever, man. Like he's the best, dude. I love Michael B. Jordan. Um, but anyway, that post credit scene either could have been left out completely, or you just establish that some of these vampires survived into the far future, or you know, like and leave it at that. Just cut it off right there. Like what? They're still alive. The end. But they drew that scene out a little too much, and I don't think they needed to have a whole conversation with someone at the end. Um, and then one other scene that I just wasn't quite sure about was the scene where they include in this that certain people have the power um, through music to basically summon musical spirits from the past, but not only the past, from the future. There's a scene where they incorporate that visually in the middle of the film, and I don't. It took me out of it a little bit when they brought like modern day music into the film. Not the music per se, but having the modern day representation of the music there, like um, 90s hip hop dancers and stuff like that show up in the film. Um, it, it it was a little much for me. I think you could have done the past. I don't know, summoning music of the past. That's cool, but the future thing took me out of it, but only temporarily. Only temporarily. I was right back in after that. So it was a quick scene, and it's a cool concept. I just think visually that didn't work so much for me. So that's why it's like a 9.5 instead of a 10 out of 10 for me. But anyway, I absolutely love this film. It's likely to be one of my favorite films of the year, um, just because I think it's going to be hard to top. Um, but yeah, I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know what you thought of Sinners. Let me know in the comments below, or you can reach out on social media at Real Brett Scott, just about everywhere. Yeah, let's talk about it. This movie's awesome. Awesome. All right, if you enjoyed this, my take on this, or or you enjoyed this film, go ahead and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you do decide to stick around and subscribe, then I'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks.